Bellina Show, Tuesday, lunchtime. Louie Bellina Show, thanks to Rudy's Barbecue, home of the green chili stew, and the ribs, and the moist brisket. Oh, the pork loin, the turkey. That's Rudy's Barbecue. Lunchtime Tuesday, I'm joined on the D4 Land Services hotline by Joe Sheehan. Joe Sheehan Newsletter. Joe, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. I had a short night. I spent 8 hours studying overnight after that play in the Red Sox Blue Jays game. I figured I was going to get asked about it a bunch today.
Okay, then hey, I don't want you to waste 22 hours of research. For those that may not be aware, there was this 16-minute delay over a scoreboard, a fourth out, and a partridge in a pear tree. Explain what happened.
The Red Sox had first and third with one out. There was some confusion as to how many outs. The previous play, it appears that the scoreboard operator thought 2 outs had been recorded on the play. So the scoreboards all said 2 outs. Now, that's not binding at all. You're responsible as a player on the field for knowing how many outs there are. So that just sets this up. A fly to center, Red Sox runners thinking there are 2 outs, just start running around the base. Play is made in center. They double off the runner at first, 3 outs. Everybody gets off the field to the dugout. The thing is, the runner at third crossed the plate before the third out was made at first base. And unless the Blue Jays make a play on that runner, either throwing the ball to third to tag him up, to double him off, or appealing that he left too soon, that run actually counts. The Blue Jays never made a play on it. So it doesn't make sense, right? The Red Sox make this goofy base running error. They make, they basically fly into a double play with 1 out when they think there's 2 outs. But because of the sequence in which the Blue Jays got the outs, the run from third actually counts. Now, had the Jays made the play at third base first, in other words, instead of doubling off the runner at first, they double off the runner at third, they would have been out. But of course, the Jays think there's, I think actually some players thought there were 2 outs, but they just figured they make the play at first and they're fine. If they'd stayed on the field and appealed at third base, they would have been fine. It would have been a fourth out that would have erased the run. You see the fourth out play maybe twice a decade. But the sequence of events, how it played out, the Jays got the second out on the fly ball and the third out at first base and never made a play on the runner at third. So the runner at third legally scored. And like I say, it took them 16 minutes to figure it out because it's very counterintuitive. But the fact is, they actually did get it right by the rules. I didn't like to call it. I didn't like to call it first. And they kind of, like I said, Louie, I spent a lot of time last night, kind of going over the rule book and looking at this play. And it's not fair necessarily to the Jays that it worked out this way, but they did get the call correct. Now, it was 2-0 at the time. The run made it 2-1. The Red Sox ended up losing 2-1. So this isn't a play that affected the outcome of the game. I think that's, the Red Sox had a chance. They had a leadoff double in the ninth. If they go on to win this game, it's a much different story. The fact that they lost the game anyway, it's not going to be as big a deal.
Right. 16 minutes, multiple chapters and paragraphs of the rule book in which even the umpires probably didn't understand the explanation in the end.
They didn't. Well, you could even tell when, I forget who came out to actually do the crew chief was, but he was kind of sheepish about the whole thing. And you really seem like, you know what, we screwed up here and we're just going to kind of move on. Red Sox get the run, we move on. And like I say, in a different context, remember the Merkel play back in 1908? Like there are calls, there are complicated situations that have come up. The hit by pitch in the World Series in 74, I think it was. There are situations that come up where we'll remember calls like this forever. Here, we won't as much because, like I say, the outcome of the game, but if the Red Sox win this game, because it's not like, you missed the call at first. This is a complicated rules interpretation that required calling New York and getting, actually somebody to look up and kind of consulting it. It was like watching an NFL game. The NFL, every now and then there'll be a call in an NFL game that causes every referee in a 3-mile area to kind of show up on the field and talk about it. But in this case, you don't see these delays. It wasn't even a replay. Typically, it'll be a replay situation. And this is just it's an edge case. It doesn't come up. Like I say, you'll see this type of play maybe twice a decade. And when it does, even qualified umpires have to sit there and go, wait a minute, are we getting this right?
flow charts, Venn diagrams, simple mind memes, everything was involved with this.
You ever see the Arrested Development? Not Arrested Development. It Only Rains in Philadelphia, whatever that song is. But It Only Rains in Southern California. It Never Rains in Southern California is the song. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is the TV show. And
which is a phenomenal show. Huge fan. I watched the first 32 seasons of it.
The image of the guy with the blackboard, or the whiteboard, I should say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The simple mind thing. The simple mind meme, yeah.
That's exactly what it was last night. So it ends up just being a fun story. But like I say, I do all my radio today and some video and do top podcasts, and I wanted to make sure I understood what the hell had happened last night, because I figured I was going to be asked about it.
But if they didn't understand it, why do you have to? I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself here. In
fairness, I get to do it 18 hours later, as opposed to having to do it on the field in the middle of the game with the players. The players were laughing. I mean, Anthony Stiglitz was cracking up, the Red Sox second baseman. It kind of crosses over from you're getting mad about the late to this is just funny now. And I think that's going to be the takeaway at the end. We're going to look back at that funny situation in Toronto. It was one of the longest delays. There was a playoff game in 2015. And this was the same series, though I don't know if it was the same game that Jose Bautista did the big backflip. There was a stolen base attempt. And when the catcher went to throw out the runner, he hit the batter's bat. And that, the ball ricochets and everybody runs. It was a play I'd never seen before. And it was a similar situation where everybody would sit down and say, okay, what do we do here? And I actually don't remember how they resolved it. But that's the thing, man. You talk about things, you'll go to a game and see something you've never seen before. It's still true. And you'll see, last night was something people have very rarely seen before. Everybody forgets, the runners forget the out. The double play gets made, but they don't make it at the right base, and now we have 60-minute delay. Come on, man. How do you not be romantic about baseball?
Oh, no. I was down with you on this one. This was a great moment. And this might sound weird, and it fit the summer. You know what I mean? You're in the dead of a race, and you get something like this, which baseball geeks can geek out to.
Yes. So, like I said, it'll be a funny story. But I can't even imagine, given the way the Red Sox have played of late and the fact that they put all this pressure on the Yankees and the Rays, like for them to have possibly won a game on a call like that would have been another interesting twist in their run over the last 2 months.
Fair enough. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. Since June 1st has been hitting a lot. I've seen this all over the place, but the one for me is since June 1st, best team in baseball, and kind of easily has been the Boston Red Sox. 39-20, 661 win percentage, propelled by, they kind of had 2 win streaks, but they went 27-3 over that 30-game stretch. And over the past 100 years, here I love perspective on things. And over the past 100 years, they're only the 7th team ever in the history of baseball to go 27-3 over a 30-game stretch.
Yeah, they played some really good ball. I mean, they caught their share of one-run wins, but really it was about how good they became at run prevention. This is still not a good offensive team. Now, I watched the Red Sox, and you'll see somebody up and say, oh, that's the number 9 hitter. They'll go to the top of the lineup. And the next guy will come up and say, oh, well, that's the number 9 hitter. And the next guy come up. They're starting like 4 number 9 hitters on some days. But starting pitching has been excellent. They were actually able to trade one of their starters, Connolly Early, to the Nationals to get a hitter in Curtis Speed, who immediately got hurt. But they've got incredible depth in the rotation. That's even with Derek Crochet being out for 3.5 months now. They play really good defense. They're one of the 3 best defensive teams in baseball behind the Cubs, and depending on the numbers you look at, the Jays are still pretty good. But they just keep runs off the board, and they score just enough to win. So, we'll see what happens. They get Trevor Story back pretty soon here. They're hoping to get Roman Anthony and Crochet back later in the year, but they turn their season around in a way that clearly, I mean, remember, they fired Alex Cora 9-17. Even the first month under Chad Tracy, the new manager, they really didn't play all that well. I want to say they were 26-27 at one point. And then they went on this incredible run. Now, we've seen some of the weakness in the last few days. They lost to the A's on Saturday. They lost to the A's on Sunday. It was actually the first time since June 22nd that the Red Sox had lost consecutive games. It was the first time since June 26th that the A's had won consecutive games. And those 2 games, plus the one last night, really point out the problems this team has offensively. They just don't have enough good hitters. So they have to keep getting great starts, getting great bullpen work, and playing great defense. They have to win games. This is not your typical Fenway Park Red Sox team. They're trying to win games 3-2, not 13-12.
Oof. Are they trying to be like, oh, help me here? Is it the Blue Jays that lead all of MLB, like winning 14 games by scoring 2 runs or less?
I'd have to check. It could be the Padres. Could be a number of teams. It's a down offensive year. It's a down offensive era. And they actually have messed with the baseball. Since the All-Star break, the ball's it's not that it's not flying as well, it's that it's not coming off the bat as well. It seems like they've actually altered the properties of the baseball so that exit velocities are lower. So pretty much every team is having to play this type of win. So I don't have who's got that in front of me, but could be the Guardians. They're typically a big team when it comes to winning these low-scoring games. But
Toronto Blue Jays.
It is the Blue Jays. Okay.
10 wins in games where they've scored 2 or fewer runs, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd brag about it, but how have you double-digit wins this year with 2 runs or less?
Well, again, how many losses do they have with 2 runs or less? That's the thing. You're playing too many games where you score 2 runs or less. And this is a team that last year had that peak offensive season, got all the way to 7th game of the World Series, basically missed winning the World Series by inches in extra innings. And then this year, we know about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Louie, he has 7, 8 home runs this year. He's slugging like a backup catcher. It's just been a very strange year for him, and a lot of the guys who were so big for them last year fell off. They traded Dalton Varsho. Even with the move, they signed Dylan Cease, and that's worked out really well. They traded for Lewis Varland last year, and that's worked out really well for them this year. But they ended up being a seller at the deadline because they just can't score runs.
Fair enough. Back to the Red Sox. Is this sustainable? I know you said they're struggling to score runs. But every team has a flaw. So you say the number one flaw they have, but almost every team has a flaw but the Dodgers. The only flaw the Dodgers have is they're bored. But is it sustainable? Are they this good?
I think the run prevention is that good because of the defense, because of the depth of the pitching. The bullpen's been very good. Aroldis Chapman lost the game on Sunday, but really they've been fantastic. I'm always going to have trouble trusting teams that can't score. The most reliable thing for me in baseball is offense. And you're talking about a team that, yes, Ceddanne Rafaela is having his best year. Wilson Contreras has been very good after the trade. But, with all the injuries and with all the lack of development of some of the young hitters, they're very, very thin. So I am skeptical. I think they're going to make the playoffs only because, Louie, it's the American League. You win 84 games and you're going to be able to walk into the playoffs. And I don't think they can fall far enough out of the playoff picture at this point. At one point, I did say they would catch the Rays for the division title, and that's where I think I kind of gotta back off a little bit because the offense just isn't good enough. So good enough to make the playoffs, definitely good enough to be dangerous when they're in the playoffs because the run prevention is just that good. But I'm not sure they have 93, 94 win upside right now.
Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter joined us every Tuesday here on the Louie Bellina Show. He joins us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Best teams in baseball since June 1st. Red Sox, 39-20, 661. Brewers, 39-23, 629. Cubs, 627, third best record. And this is where it starts getting weird, man. Tigers, fourth best record, 36-22. Marlins, fifth best record, 34-25. And the Rays, Astros have the seventh best record. And they're just a game above 500 as we wake up this morning. I mean, man, baseball doesn't make sense this year to me.
It doesn't. It's really one of the strangest seasons I can remember. You had the Cubs with the 2 10-game winning streaks and the 10-game losing streak. This Red Sox run, the Astros, certainly playing terribly for 6 weeks and then getting it together. We've seen swings this year, and you get this every year. It's just the nature of baseball, but it feels like there have been more of them this year. You have the whole situation in the American League where, there's still a chance that the AL West will be won by a sub-500 team, which is just crazy. We've never had a sub-500 team make the playoffs, and that still is in play. There's still a chance the last wild card team is going to be a sub-500 team, although there's a smaller chance of that. The White Sox 2 years ago lost 121 games, and they've been in first place for a month. It's a very strange season, Louie, and that's why my job is to look ahead and say, make forward-facing statements. And it's been a tough year for that because teams are just Well, I think the other thing is, too, it's hard to identify. You rattled off the since June 1st standings. It's just hard to identify teams that you actually think are good. I think the Cubs are good. I think the Dodgers are good. I think the Brewers are good. think the Rays are good, but they can't hit. I mean, it's a 4-man lineup, basically. Like, how many other teams are you absolutely convinced are good? The Braves, I don't trust their starting pitching. The Astros have been beating them up all year. I had them as a 500 team at the start of the year. I just think objectively we're down to like 4 actually good teams.
But if nobody can hit, doesn't it balance out?
Oh, sure. I mean, look, every game's going to have a winner or a loser, right? Somebody's going to get to 90 wins and win the AL East or whatever. But just even subjectively watching the games, Louie, take the stats out of it for a second. There's a dragginess to them. And I think it goes back to there just being not enough offense in the game, not enough hits in the game. There was, you see the thing last week where there was a squirrel running around the Tigers game?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Squirrel was a hero.
Action. Right, well, because he's running, there's actually movement on a baseball field. The people were having to run around on a ball field. We don't get enough of that right now. Pitchers continue to dominate the game, and even if it's not, strikeout rate has stagnated over the last couple of years. Ever since pitchers stopped hitting, strikeout rate has stagnated about 22%, which is still way too high. But like the quality of batted balls is going down. And you look at lineups, Louie, and there are just so many guys in lineups who are like hitting 220 with a 650 OPS. Teams are selecting guys for their gloves rather than their bats, which means that it's harder and harder to score on both ends of the ball. Defensive positioning has gotten better. It's just really a stagnant year in baseball. Even goes down to like clutch hitting. This is a couple of days old. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, like the ultimate clutch situation, right? Either we're going to get off the field or they're going to be runs scored. Batters are hitting 228, which is the 4th lowest number in recorded baseball history. So in big situations, pitchers are just beating the crap out of hitters. So in every phase of the game, offense is being sucked out of the game. Baseball's dead. The pitchers are good. The pitchers are really coming up in the clutch. And that's why we just don't get as much excitement in these games. So it's an interesting year. I don't know if it's a fun year, but it's definitely an interesting year.
Okay, I got to take a timeout. Bring that back up when we return, because I got another kind of why baseball, I think, is draggy at times, okay?
Cool.
Joe Sheehan newsletter, hanging out with us each and every Tuesday on the D4 Land Services Hotline. Do you need your land fixed up? Do you need your land cleared? Do you need some help getting your land excavated? Then you do need to visit d4landservices.com, d4landservices.com. It's the Louie Bellina Show on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Bellina Show. Dial 979-693-1150.
Hello?
To visit with him.
Hello?
Or to win.
Hello?
On the D4 Land Services Hotline. Dial 979-693-1150.
Bellina Show, Tuesday style, Tuesday edition. I sit inside the Charles Schwab studio. Let's hang out. Time for more MLB. Joe Sheehan newsletter. Joe, we were talking about the dragginess of MLB, right?
Yeah, you said you had a thought.
Nobody wants to watch 10 pitchers in a game.
Yep.
If you start with that, I think you change the... I don't disagree with anything you said, to be clear, right? But nobody wants to watch 10 pitchers. Name a game in MLB that's 8 pitchers or less. Ever. And we're talking about 2-1 games, and you'd assume the starters each, each 8 up, 8 innings, and then a closer. No. 2-1 games are 8 pitchers, at least minimum, and nobody wants to watch that.
I think that's made the game less attractive. This was a conversation last year, I think, and even 2 years ago, as much as I haven't heard as much of it last year. I know Jason Stark's been big on this. MLB floated a proposal that would have basically forced starting pitchers to stay in the game for 6 innings, which is an impossibly bad idea for any number of reasons. I mean, but let me just wander for a bit. It starts with player development. We're no longer developing pitchers to go 110 pitches in 7 innings to the major league level. If you look at the top pitching prospects in baseball now, they're throwing 4 to 5 innings in the minors. They're not the Mariners have these 2 great prospects, Cade Anderson and Ryan Sloan, and they're just tearing it up at Double-A. And between them, Louie, they've thrown 80 pitches once this year. This is how we're developing pitchers, and you can't develop 220 inning starters. You can't develop 7 inning pitchers if you're having them throw 80 pitches in the minor leagues. There's just no way to get there. Now, one of the big reasons teams do this is that they have access to 13 pitchers. When we first started talking, teams would carry about 11 pitchers. And when I first started doing this, there was a big fight over, what are you doing carrying 11 pitchers? 10 is plenty. 5 starters and 5 relievers. 5 relievers is plenty. And now teams not only have 8 relievers in their bullpen, they churn the last couple of spots. Like if you go 3 innings, you're going to get sent out so that they can bring up another guy who can actually pitch that next day. So you've got the incentives at the major league level to carry as many pitchers as possible so that nobody ever pitches tired. We talk about why pitchers are dominating the game. Louie, one big reason is that they never pitch tired anymore. We talk about 120 pitches. I think there's been 1 or 2 120 pitch starts in the last couple of years. Guys are barely going, 100 isn't even the number anymore. It's 90. Guys are all on 4 days rest, and the ones that aren't are on 5 days rest. Pitchers never pitch tired. Relievers. If a reliever, there was an exception over the weekend that really caught my eye. Hogan Harris went 36 pitches in relief, came back the next day. That almost never happens. Remember everyday Eddie Guardado from maybe 15 years ago?
I'll admit, no, I do not.
He's a left-handed reliever for the Twins and Mariners, and this thing was he just pitched all the time. He would go 4 or 5 straight days sometimes, and it wasn't unusual for pitchers to go 4 or 5 straight days. Now, guys never go 4 days in a row, and they rarely go 3 days in a row. Like if you haven't thrown a lot of pitches and you're the closer, that might bring you back a 3rd straight day. I want to say Aaron Boone 2-3 years ago went the entire season without using a reliever on a 3rd straight day.
That's the thing. Again, I remember 3-4 world. See, I remember 3-4 world. I remember 3 was fine. You could see 4, but man, 2 seems tiresome.
But that's what it is now. It's just so again, you have 13 pitchers, you've got 8 relievers, and you don't have to use that other guy, on a 3rd straight day or on a 4th straight day. So again, starting pitchers are pitching less frequently and throwing fewer pitches than ever before. Relievers are throwing less frequently and throwing fewer pitches than ever before. Nobody ever pitches tired. And that, to me, is this understated part of why pitchers are dominating. And it goes back to what you're saying, because you go out there and you're going to throw 5 innings of 1-run ball. That guy would, for most of, for until the 90s anyway, that guy would have stayed in the game. There was a game, when we were having this conversation 2 years ago, there was a Sunday night game, I still remember it. Tarek Skubal and Marcus Stroman. They went 6 innings, allowed 1 run between them, and both of them came out in the 7th. And I'm like, it's not that people want pitchers to be forced to stay in the game if they're not pitching well. What they want is Tarek Skubal and Marcus Stroman locked up in a great pitcher's duel to keep having that pitcher's duel. And that's what we've lost. It's not about every starting pitcher going 6 innings every single. I think there's a lot of room for a lot of variation in pitching and pitcher usage and a lot of strategies. But when a pitcher is having a really good start and he comes out, or when he's gone 8 shutout innings and you're at the ballpark, you're like, hey, we're going to see a shutout. Then that guy coming out when he's thrown 92 pitches, that's the frustrating part. And that's what's really become epidemic since the pandemic and that season where the pitchers didn't work very much at all. And then they came back the next year and they were coming off a year where they didn't pitch much at all, so they had to kind of be used carefully. And ever since then, we've just eliminated, these good starts that get completed. It's just, you've given me 6 good innings. Even if you're only at 82 pitches, we're going to go to the relievers. And I've been part of it. You've heard about the 3rd-time penalty, right?
3rd-time penalty. Oh, yeah. Starting pitcher, it's a statistical fact. Starter 3rd time through, all the numbers are down. It's 99% of the time. It's facts.
And you can't ask teams to play worse baseball. But here's the thing we're missing. Not all starting pitchers start from the same baseline. And the top, I use the number 50 because I've just pulled that out of my tuchus. But
okay, sure.
Let's say it's 50. The top 50 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball should be pitching a lot more than they do, because even their 3rd time around is generally going to be better than the reliever you're bringing out of the bullpen. But we've just gotten locked into this 3rd-time penalty thing. Well, like I said, 3rd-time penalty, it does apply to everybody. The more pitches you throw, the more you can, lessen the penalty. So if you can go to, a 5th and a 6th pitch, that 3rd time around, something the guys haven't seen yet, that generally helps you lessen your third time penalty. And that's something that the best pitchers generally have. But we've forced everybody into this kind of 5 and 6 inning model. And the best pitchers in baseball should be pitching a lot more than they do. And that's one of the great frustrations, because you're just not seeing the complete game, the shutout. The only time guys really work deep into the pitch count anymore is when they're chasing a no-hitter.
Yeah,
Most of the high pitch count games now are, this guy has a no-hitter, we're going to see if he can finish it.
And again, I don't want to watch 8 to 10 pitchers every baseball game I go to or watch. It's not as exciting.
It's frustrating.
It's just not exciting.
I completely agree. And I'd say, I think there's room for both. I think there's room for, some guys can give you 80 good pitches and then they're dead. And I think there's room to build a staff and have guys like that. But bring back the 3-inning reliever. That's something that we've lost. And some teams have tried to bring it back, but it ends up being more like an opener bulk guy situation. One guy goes 1 inning and the next guy goes 5 innings. But, again, you go back to we're not talking about like olden times, man. I'm talking about like, the 80s and 90s. There used to be relievers who would come in and get 6, 7, 8 outs. It wasn't that unusual an approach. And I think the only way we're getting back, I want to come back to the main thesis here, it's the roster rules. Right now, teams know that they can access 8 relievers a day and 11 relievers a week with roster moves. So there is absolutely no incentive for them to do anything differently. And I've been saying for a very long time now, you've got to roll this back. Roll it back to 12 for 2 years, then roll it back to 11. You get 11 pitchers. And also modify the make it so that you can't constantly churn those last couple of roster spots. I mean, you're going to have to get into the weeds here. But, MLB has made so many changes in recent years in response to perceived fan and media complaints, the pitch clock and things like that. And I think they're just missing the opportunity to make what is the fundamental change. Because let me talk about the knock-on effects for a second. If a team knows that it only has 11 pitchers on a given day and maybe 13 for a week, it's going to have to get more out of the pitchers that it has on hand, right? I mean, you're still playing 6, 7 games a week. You need somebody to throw those, I can do math, 54, 63 innings. Okay, so how are you going to do that? You're going to ask for more from the pitchers you have on hand. Well, then you're going to have to actually develop pitchers who can go deeper into games. So right now, you're developing these 5-inning pitchers because there's no incentive not to. If you say you only have 11 pitchers a day, you're now going to have to start developing 6 and 7 and even 8-inning pitchers. You're going to have to change the model of pitcher development. So for me, it all starts with cap the number of available pitchers on the roster and then see the knock-on effects. Louie, it's taken us, I think about Steve Carlton was the last pitcher to throw 300 innings in a year. That was 1980. And you look at some of the innings counts in the 80s. It's taken us 40 years to get to this place where pitcher usage is broken. It's going to take a while to reverse all of these effects. But the one thing people will say was, well, if you do this, pitchers are going to get hurt. Oh, no. What would we do if pitchers were getting hurt?
Pitchers are already getting hurt.
That's exactly. So, that's not an argument to me. Pitchers are getting hurt under every model we use. I don't know if pitchers is going to make pitchers any healthy, but you can't just slam down pitchers are going to get hurt like it's the winning domino, because pitchers are getting hurt under every model. So let's try a different model.
Over the years, you and I have talked about pitchers getting hurt, and that's the one mystery about it. It has not mattered what the belief system or what the system's been, period. Pitchers have always gotten hurt in every system under every single philosophy that's been implemented in baseball.
Right. The change in my lifetime is that we used to have overworked injuries, which were largely in the shoulder, rotator cuff injuries. You don't hear as much about those anymore. And what happened when they started reducing the workloads was that pitchers learned that they could throw harder. So now we have effort injuries that are, you blow out your UCL because you're maxing out your velocity. So we've shifted the types of injuries that happen, but the frequency with which they happen hasn't really changed. If anything, it certainly feels like it's gone up. What is it, a third? John Rogel has this great spreadsheet that tracks literally every single Tommy John surgery, and it's something like a third of all pitchers in MLB this year have had Tommy John.
Joe, I got to let you go, but nothing to do with baseball. Before I let you go, we were talking about the memes, and I'm sorry, it was stuck in my head. You were talking about the It's Always Sunny meme, and I remember it. I said Simple Mind meme, which is the band Alive and Kicking and, from the Breakfast Club.
I know the song and the band. Yep.
Yeah, I meant the Beautiful Mind meme, which is a different one.
Thank you.
And Always Sunny actually did a riff on it too. So I had to correct that, or stuff like that just percolates in my head and gives me headaches for 3 days. So
I couldn't figure out what you were doing with the Simple Mind one. I'm like, okay, I don't know that. And the Beautiful Mind is with all the numbers floating around. Yeah, okay.
And Always Sunny did a riff on it, and they had their own meme. And there's the Zach Galifianakis one that did a spoof on it too. So that was way too complicated, but I had to get that out there before you left.
I've never watched a minute of Always Sunny.
Oh, I did for you. Again, it's got like 58 seasons, and I think I watched the first 40. And it is not for anyone. Did you ever watch like Archer?
Yeah, first couple of seasons.
Yeah, some shows are not for everyone. Mileage may vary. It either is or is not. And I was a big fan for a long time. Dude, go be awesome. Thank you always. Can't wait to hang out with you next week.
Thanks, brother. Take
Later.
care.
Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter hangs out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Baseball, Ray. We talk baseball. This is the Louie Bellina Show on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Listen to The Zone at radioaguilan.com. Thanks to Loyalty Plumbing. The pros at Loyalty Plumbing are ready to serve you, Aguilan. Visit them at loyaltyplumbingllc.net.
The Louie Bellina Show, little past halftime. The Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric, residential, commercial, and industrial services. Still to come. 1 o'clock straight up, Olin Buchanan time. Olin Buchanan, the Go Hour. Olin Buchanan, everything Texags. Olin Buchanan joins us inside the Charles Schwab studio. 150 Community Spotlight with Aggieland Humane Society. Great text message. I got to share this with you. Matt in College Station. I could listen to Joe talk baseball forever. Thanks, Joe. Me too. Me too. Joe and I have been talking 23 years. He was with the Baseball Prospectus gang. They were the ultimate baseball think tank, and they were inspired by Bill James, which was the original analytics. Bill James was the original Bible, the original godfather of all things analytics. And it was Joe Sheehan and Gary Huckabee. And they would alternate weeks. I remember when I first found Baseball Prospectus, it changed all my understanding of everything, anything, all things baseball. And Joe and he's joined me on the First Word with Louie Bellina and the Louie Bellina Show ever since. So, and you see, you could listen to Joe talk baseball forever. Me too. Me too. Me too. I want to stay on the diamond for a little bit if it's cool with you. Last night, Astros and Rangers both drama. Not in the negative way, but man, the games were awesome. The Astros were down to their last out. You know, they're on the road in San Fran, game 1, wrapping up their West Coast roadie. And they're down. They're down to their last out. And Cam Smith, who's on a heater, having one of the best stretches of his young career, comes through, ties it up in the 9th. And then the Astros put up a 3 spot in the 10th. 6-3-10. Astros win game 1. And I forget who. I read a lot of stuff. I'm a big reader. I like gathering info. Someone said in a must-win game, and in the AL West, and Joe just said it, there is a very high potential that a sub-500 team is going to win the West. Or 500 even. With that reality, no, it wasn't a must-win. The Astros had lost like 4 of 6 after winning 11 of 12. That's been the roller coaster ride, the yo-yo, all year for every Astro Ranger fan. It was not a must-win, but this next, it's like 3 weeks. It's not 2 weeks, where they have the Giants, Mariners, Angels, and who's the last? Oh, A's. You would love to make hay. You'd like to win at a 750 clip. And in the AL West, that makes you a god. But it's almost nothing's a must-win in the AL West. If you play above 500 from now to the end of the season, you win the AL West. Because the Astros are a game above, and this is a division that probably will have a 500, maybe even sub-win it. So that's the reality. It was a great win. Down to an out. Cam Smith on a heater. Go, go, go. Cam Smith hit his 16th homer of the year in the 7th. Tied it in the 9th. Jordan goes 2 for 5. Isaac Paredes, 2 for 4, 2 ribeyes. Wisniewski with a phenomenal start went 7-3. Josh Hader continues being Josh bleeping Hader with 2 scoreless to get the dub. No hits, no walks. It was a great win. Must win easy now. The Rangers needed extras. They win the game 4-1 in 10. This is a 1-1 game, end of 9. Offensive futility is thy name. 3-spot, top of the 10th. Rangers win 4-1. Nemo 2 for 4 with an RBI. Diaz 2 for 5 with an RBI. Gore got the start, 5 1/3. Only a run scored. Bullpen was brilliant. Bullpen was simply phenomenal. So both teams needed extras. Both the Astros and Rangers got the dub. Tonight, Astros, Giants, Game 2, 8:15 pregame. You can listen right here on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Astros baseball on the Zone and select games on Willie 1550 AM, or thanks to Kelly Burt Dozer. Hunter Brown getting the start. You can listen to Hunter Brown and the Astros on the Zone, 8:15 pregame tonight. Thanks to Kelly Burt Dozer. I have some statisticals, the state of the Astros. How come after winning 11 of 12, they have struggled again? Simple. Yordan Alvarez, who is the MVP, has not hit a home run in the month of August, and this is the 11th day. Jeremy Pena hit the go-ahead run in the 10th last night against the Giants. He had been in an 0 for 23 streak prior to the one hit. If your MVP has no yard work, has not hit a homer in the entire month, and Jeremy Pena, who's your leadoff guy, is 0 for 23, and that's your top 2 in the order, Jordan's had hits, and they're walking him, so Jordan's contributing. I don't want to overplay it, but still, he hasn't homered in the month of August. You understand how the Astros offense has really cooled off, and if those two players were at their mean, they'd have won the series from the Padres. So, that's part of the problem. Varsho has hit $120 with 1 extra base hit. Maybe 1 hit total now that I'm really going through the math on this, since he was acquired in the trade. By the way, Spencer Arrighetti has been identified with an injury since going over to Toronto. That's some of the inside numbers of why have the Astros struggled in August. Offensively, Pena's been ice cold. Jordan's just no extra base power right now. Little power outage, but he's hitting the ball. Do you know he had the hardest hit ball in baseball last night, and it was a single? True story. In the 6th inning, he hit a ball 118.5 miles per hour, and it was a single. There you go. So when we look up in the standings, Astros are still in first, 61-59, 2 games above 500. Rangers are now a game above 5. Congrats, all you Ranger fans. How does it feel, the above 500 life? And I always go to those sports line projections. Astros 82.3, which is 82. And now the Rangers are 81.6, which is 82. According to Sportsline, Houston has a 53% chance to win the division, 64% to make the postseason at all. And the Rangers, 36% to make win the division, and 52% just to make the postseason at all. This race will come down to the final weekend. Real quick for the hardcore MLB fans, Major League Baseball announced the postseason schedule. The wild card begins on Tuesday, September 29th. The World Series begins on Friday, October 23rd, and if it goes to 7 games, the 7th game would be on Saturday, October 31st. When we come back, 5 things you need to know. This is the Louie Bellina Show. I hope you need to know that. That's why I didn't put it in the need to know category. This is the Louie Bellina Show inside the Charles Schwab studio. And it is Tuesday on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. In uncertain times, Charles Schwab remains invested in their clients by offering personalized guidance and clarity. And it's personalized because we got Mark Sim, who's right here in College Station. Eat here, sleep here. He goes to the games too. And when you deal with Mark Sim, there's no phone trees, call center. No, there's no halfway across the world. You stop by his office, walk in, shake a hand, look him in the eye, sit down, and have a conversation. Personalized guidance. Look him up online, schwab.com/College Station.
You can hear Aggie football online at RadioAggieland.com.